Welcome to the Spacious Unknowing Network, Sunshine for Your Soul, with Julio
and JoJo Rose.
We invite you to enter into ecological equanimity in the unified field of spacious unknowing.
We open and awaken to broaden your access to the soul rhythm in all of us.
We engage in the pilgrimage inward to feel the infinite love that beats in the rhythm of our collective soul. We will guide you to new horizons and infinite love during our Inquire Within segment.
To accept that, you create your field.
I create my field.
And together, we create the unified field. Spacious Unknowing Network
with Julio
and JoJo Rose starts now. Aloha and welcome to Spacious Unknowing Network, Sunshine for Your Soul. I'm JoJo Rose, here with Julio Rose. Today, the show is Oh Plentiful Goodness, Turn On, and Souls Shine Bright.
And that they do. So this is the story to begin with today. I had a friend who had just been through a big trauma with her family, and I knew it. Told her that I would be of any service I could to her. And I heard a horn. Somebody was like leaning on a horn in their car outside. And so I went out and saw that it was her car. And I went to the door, opened the door. She was slumped on the wheel, and her, I helped to lift her head to sit her against the seat. And then I noticed that her hands were gripping the steering wheel, and I had to take each finger, pry it loose because it was so tight. She was holding on for dear life. And yet she was very dead in her body. She was stone cold. And so I knew that I just had to be present. And I got her out of the car. She was a big woman. So I had her lean on me. I couldn't carry her. And we walked toward the steps. There were 3 or 4 steps and no handle rail. So I got her up the steps to the kitchen door, and we went in, and I got her from there to the sofa in the living room, and you children were sleeping and Benny was out. So we had quiet, and I just sat her on the sofa and sat beside her. And I immediately started praying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, heaven and earth are filled with your glory. Hosanna in the highest. Blessed is she who comes in the name of the Lord. And I said it 3 times. When I opened my eyes, her eyes were open, and I saw the pain in them. There was so much pain. So I did some breathing with her and just kept breathing with her. And I could feel she was becoming warm because I had her hands as I was breathing with her. And finally, her hands were really warm. And I knew that I could get up and do something else with her. And so I did. I walked around the coffee table and stood in front of her. And I said, say, I am strong. And she said, I am strong. 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 I am strong, she said. I am strong. I am strong. I am strong. I am home. I am going home. And she stood up. And it was so wonderful to see her come alive because I knew her very well. So I knew she was on. She was turned on and she really was alive and vitally alive. So I knew she was fine to go home. So I walked her out to her car and she got in and drove away. And I walked back into the house to sit quietly to realize that I am just a very calm and peaceful person. And recently I had been asked, how did I want to decorate our home? And I sat with that for a few minutes and I realized I want to decorate my home in peace. I want when people walk through that door that they feel peace and restfulness. And obviously that was just in time for this, her Cece's visit, because that was so needed to bring her into that peace here and here.
Yes.
And be with her for the warming of her body. I was amazed at how Dad is cold, and she was so cold, and I really knew that I didn't know anything actually. That is really what it is, that I allowed Spacious Unknowing to just show it all, give me the sounds and the way to be with her. And so I was. And I was so thankful that that I have this life and could be of service. And then your children stay asleep. And yeah, and I feel like, it's responding to life instead of reacting. So when we have peace in our heart and soul, we can respond to whatever shows up. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Because there's always a way to be present that is healing. There always, and the one needing it needs that from any one of us.
Yes.
That's what they need. They don't need drama and panic and guilt, fear, and control to take over someone so that there's no help for the one who really isn't able to come back to their own good health, whoever it is. So a few mornings later, I woke in the morning and Gina never slept with us, so she was in our bed, and I turned my head and saw her swallow a clip from my hair. And I went into the kitchen and said to Benny and the children, you children, that Gina had just swallowed a clip. And Benny said, I'll call 911. And he was in a real panic and so dramatic. And I called out as I headed for the bedroom. I said, she'll be dead by the time they get here. I walked over to the bed. She was blue in the face. I called Jay. He came into the room and he stood and said something. I didn't understand what he said, but she sat up in bed and said, what are we having for breakfast? Okay.
Wow.
Well, I realized that about 3 months previous to this, I had been fast asleep, and I woke up and sat straight up in bed and said, didn't say it. I looked at a certain place in the room and received Jay as a healer, and I laid back down and went to sleep. Well, I didn't remember that, and yet I just called his name.
Yeah.
And he went to exactly the same spot that I had seen him. I didn't see him. I'm sorry. I did not see him standing there in the vision or whatever it was. I just received Jay as a healer. That's it. So obviously it was already done.
Yeah.
I was given it 3 months before it happened. And so to be peaceful and not get all blurry-eyed because your child needs you. They don't need you to get cuckoo. They need you to be still and calm with them. So I saw her sliding away, turning blue. I mean, hello. It could be scary, but it can't be. It just can't be.
Yeah.
So when Jay came in and did that, I have no clue what he said. I don't know how it worked. All I know is she's, oh my God, she was a year old, sat up in bed, I'm hungry. Like, I mean, Gina was 6 months old, and the first word that she said was eat. That was a natural segue for her. What we having for breakfast? Nobody else could have done it that way.
No.
Oh, she was too much. So there were two things. I mean, my life was like this all the time, and I accepted that things happened fast. That was how my whole life had been, especially when someone needed help. My God, they didn't need to be around slowpokes or people who were dramatically incapable of helping anyone because they reacted and were so scared and couldn't, frozen in many cases, or in a fight or flight kind of inside, and so I didn't know or pay attention to that until I was faced with it, because Benny was so much that way when there was any kind of sickness or anything. It was so minor sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where that came from. He's the one who needed to know, obviously, or he didn't need to know. That's just the way life is. I'm not a teacher, and I wasn't here to teach him. I was here to love him, and I did. And so, yeah, life is very fragile, and yet it's very resilient. And for me, it was all about soft power. By that I mean it's feminine, it's love, it's filled, it's something inside that you allow to flow into your world, into your life, into the people around you. Because for me, that's life. It is. It's life-giving life. Love, light, truth, the universal flow of peace. Be still. And that arises, but it also comes in to meet in the heart for any circumstance. It doesn't matter what it is, JoJo, and I know you're learning that.
I am learning that, and you describe so well what I continually see, feel, behold. It's a depth, a breadth, a width that I feel from you no matter what is and peace is the center. There is always peace in your countenance, in the way you move, in the way that you speak, in the way you live your life. And something that just to kind of, I mean, there have been so many times where I may be in a room and you come in, I don't hear you, I don't hear your footsteps, I don't hear, and I'm focused and it startles me a little bit. But my point is that peace, that quiet that you have, that is just naturally you, is ever present.
And for me, that doesn't make me special. My whole point of telling anything is to wake other people that we all have this.
Yes.
Proof of it is how you've come into it.
Yes.
And live from it now. And are learning the difference in your life now from being in it. And so it's not about me taking center stage or
No.
needing someone to notice me, because I have never told these stories in my whole life to anybody.
Mhm.
When I was given the calling on my life to write my life work, that's when I wrote all of this. And so that's what is being used from the book, My Radical Life in Spacious Unknowing. Well, it isn't radical to me, I can promise you. It's the only life I know.
Yeah.
But it is very radical to other people. And that's the way it is. And then the extraordinary rendition of cosmic love is such a given to all of us. That is present and available for all of us to avail ourselves of.
Yeah.
But that's the secret. We have to avail ourselves of it. And that is possible for everyone. And it is really learning our inner workings. It's not so much about inner work as inner workings being understood.
Mhm.
And to have peace in the middle of them is the greatest gift we can allow in.
Yeah.
And be still with. And that's the truth.
Yes, it is.
That's the truth that I have learned living this way.
Mhm.
And it really serves me well. And thankfully, it has served many others well as well. And they have learned how to use it in whatever way they're able to use it. And that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful. I'd rather pass this on to someone than anything else.
Yes.
Yeah, so very soon, well, Gina, I think, was maybe 2 when this happened. She was the explorer. So Benny had fixed an outlet, and he had, not unknowingly, because none of our older children, when they were little, would ever have done this. He put it on the counter in a little tray. And I was in the bedroom making the bed. Gina got a chair. She climbed on the chair, got it was just the plug.
Mm.
Yeah, very dangerous.
Yeah.
She knew exactly what to do with it. She got down from the chair. She went into the living room, and there was a plug low enough for her to
Yes.
reach
Yep.
easily. And she, with her little right hand, pushed it into the wall.
Mm.
I came out of the bedroom to see the sparks.
Phew.
And I looked at her hand, and it was black. So I took her to the bathroom and sat her on the counter and foolishly began to wash her hand. I mean, I don't know what I was doing. But all of a sudden, I realized she was going into shock. It was slow. It wasn't like she was there already. So I just put her heart right here with mine.
Mhm.
And I just breathed with her and talked to her and sang to her and held her. And I could feel her heart sinking up the rhythm. She was coming, her heart was really beating fast when I held her to me. And then she got calm and felt soothed and was really calming. And that's when I knew that, okay, now I can treat her hand. And I put something on it. I don't remember, probably an antibiotic, I'm not sure. And put I couldn't cover it. It was too painful for her. So she got well very fast. But it was the idea that we had been lax in putting that somewhere where a child could reach it.
Yeah.
Through her ingenuity. Gina.
She had lots of that. And radar and
Yeah.
yeah.
Exploring abilities.
Yes.
And it's a funny one. One evening well, it was more dinner time, and I was at the stove cooking, and I all of a sudden turned around. Gina had taken the celery that I had filled with cheese and licked out the cheese from every celery stick. She was on her last one
How did she get the celery?
from the table. I had placed a dish. Good, good. Thanks for asking. Jumping to, yeah. I had placed a plate
Yeah,
that I had placed them in for early dinner. How would I say?
like an appetizer or just
Yeah, you all
your
love that.
pre. Yeah.
You loved appetizers, so I always had different ones, and that one was the one for the night. And she didn't want the celery, never did you either. But yeah,
What child? What child wants celery? Give me the
well,
good. Give me the good stuff.
well, some do because your
No,
brothers
that's true.
liked it, but
Yeah.
definitely she was just on a trip all by herself, just licking that celery boy. She was happy as a clam. It was so funny. I just went over to her and said, "Okay, you finished them." And put the dish on the counter,
Yes.
but that was just Gina.
Yeah.
In fact, I called her just Gina.
Yes.
It's just Gina. Or she called herself that, actually. If we ever gave her more than one name, if we called it anything that was more than Gina, she'd say, "I'm just Gina." I thought, oh, good God, she might end up being a justice one day.
Yes.
You never know. She is a
That's right.
lawyer.
Yes. Never know. That's
But yeah, that was very so we had adventures that were in need of great deep healing, and I had adventures that were fun and
yes.
cool and funny. And so definitely there was a gamut of life in our life.
Oh, there sure was. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always.
Yeah. And I think that was about the time that Matt was invited to be with the chorus, to sing in the
Yes.
chorus. And they were, so he decided he would like to do that. And they practiced often. And I guess somebody made uniforms for them. So they had that. And they were invited to Orlando to sing because president at the time, Nixon, was going to be there. And so they were all, well, the morning that Matt was leaving, he
Yes.
had to be at the bus early. So we got up at 5, Benny and I, and he was shining. Matt was shining. Oh my God, he was just so thrilled. He loved all the kids and they had fun, on the
Yes.
bus, and
Yes.
teachers went with them.
Yeah.
And, it was a grand thing. That was more important probably than anything else to most of them. And so he came back that afternoon, and when he came in, I said, "Well, how'd it go?" And he said, "Well, President Nixon didn't even notice us and he didn't thank us. But Dan Rather came over to me and he said, 'I'm so sorry that President Nixon didn't acknowledge all of you. You all sounded good, so I do want to tell you that.'"
Oh, wow.
And he talked for a few minutes, and Matt said, "When I'm an adult and I'm in media, I'm in on TV and on the radio, I'm gonna make sure that I'm always kind to people and talk to them like he did to me." So that was the highlight of his trip, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
And that he knew his name and all of it was grand, and that he was in media, and So he was very happy about it.
Yeah, and he really stayed with that decision.
Oh, he
'cause
did.
I remember when he was here, there's so many different names and pronunciations for names, and he always,
When he
'cause
lived here.
when he lived
Yeah.
here, he would get the correct pronunciation for
Mhm.
the person's name and make sure that he had it.
Yep.
You know, it was just deep respect for
Yeah.
that individual person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah. He called the games for the football in Waianae, I think, and the names were very, very long,
yes.
and he was so in it. I mean, Matt always did his homework,
Yeah, he did.
and
He does.
they loved him. I went once, and I was there. He and Larry Price did the game,
Yes.
and the football players all came to him afterwards, and it was really sweet. I was so happy I was there to see that. So yeah, he fulfilled it for sure. So yeah.
Yeah. So we are going to go ahead and take a quick break. Stay with us. On the other side, there's a couple more things that we will be discussing. So again, see you on the other side. We are back, and you are listening to and tuned into Spacious Unknowing Network, Sunshine for Your Soul. If you're just joining us, we've been speaking on today's show is Oh Plentiful Goodness, Turn On, and Soul Shine Bright. And so Julie was sharing some stories from her life of things she didn't react to life, she responded. And so I know there was another one with Gina
Yeah.
that would you share
Oh,
with
sure.
us?
Yeah. I was talking to my friend Carolyn, and Carolyn had a little boy, Peter, who was about the same age as Gina, and they really were good pals. And often we would go to visit someone, and Gina and Peter would just play together, completely happy with each other
Yes.
that they had somebody to play with. So um, Carolyn and I were talking on the phone, and all of a sudden Gina just started yelling. And I said, I gotta go. And we hung up. And 3 hours later, Carolyn
Mm.
called me and said, Gina saved Peter's life.
Mm.
I said, what? How did she do that?
Mm.
And Carolyn said, well, I got to the kitchen, and Peter had just taken the bottle of lye and he had it up to his lips, ready to drink it.
Oh.
And I caught him. And it was because of Gina's outburst that I was there for that.
Wow.
And so, yeah, there was a lot to be thankful for.
Yes.
He was such a sweet little boy. And just, yeah, so that radar boy, she certainly had it.
And she had it with so many things.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, she did.
Wow.
She definitely did. And that was a very touching really in
Yeah.
the time.
Yes.
And yep, yeah.
Wow. The listening again, because you knew you didn't know what was happening, but you knew
No,
that
no. I just
yeah.
had to hang up because if she was, in any way harmed or hurting, I
Right.
needed to be
No,
present for her.
yes.
Little did I know that, it was all about Peter, but definitely I did pick her up and hold her. So yeah, she was quite a gift to all of us.
Yes, she was. She sure was.
So
That's the one you just shared really speaks of quantum and how connected
we all are.
we all are.
Yeah. And that's why we can all know each other that way without, we're wireless.
Yes.
And when I would say that to people, they go, I could tell they were going back in their head thinking about, what did she just say to me?
Yeah.
We're wireless. But it's true. And everything that shows up out here is in here. So we're all using wireless, phone and computer.
Yeah.
Well, the computer isn't totally wireless, but the keyboard is, and the trackpad is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the TV, there's certain things on there that I use wireless for.
Yeah. Yes.
And so it's a copy of us. We are that. So we can tune in and receive from a distance, because there is no distance, truthfully. I know that's a big one too.
Yeah. Yes.
It is true. Most people don't know it or understand it. It's okay. It just is. So there's so many things that are, quantum is not new.
No.
People understanding it is new.
Yes.
And so it isn't new. And what is interesting is when people are ready, scientists show up who can help to explain the science of it.
Yes.
And of course, the brain, when I was doing the therapy with you, I couldn't find any books on the brain.
Yeah.
There was no Google.
No.
To access tons of things at once. So now the scientists have learned so much about the brain, and it's all things that we can learn from inside.
Yeah.
But that helps.
Yeah.
If somebody's interested in the study, hopefully they get, the idea, the realization that the three parts of the brain in our head are, one of them is the heart brain, and the other the enteric, and then the highest brain, the crown. So definitely there's all this information for us that is just beautiful. I'm always thrilled because I read it and go, yeah, I've known that for a long time, but from my own life.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that they're affirming it for me.
Yes.
That always feels good.
Yeah.
To be affirmed in what you've understood. And then for sure that, you have some clarity and understanding in this field. And when I studied Grey's Anatomy, read that whole book, the 4 years that I was in a study of everything, the one thing that really, really spoke to me, I mean, there were a lot of things, but this particular one was brand new to me, and it really excited me, was that on a mother's egg is the corona radiati, which is the crown of light built into the brain.
Yes.
And that's where it comes from.
Yes.
And I was so happy because I'd heard a lot of Eastern gurus speak of only a man could be enlightened. And when I read that, it was like, ooh, whoops. I think somebody didn't read this book. It was very comical to me. Well, just recently, somebody was speaking about that in a podcast. And so excited because he had just realized it. And I was so happy because I've never heard anyone say anything about it.
Right.
And I was happy that, now prayerfully people are learning about it. It is midbrain, it's limbic, it's emotions. It's really our greatest helper if we let it be.
Yeah.
And from there, the emotions can mature. Of course, the emotions, the fire in us has to be harnessed for that to happen. It doesn't just boom happen unless somebody comes in with it because that's they've already done the work
Yeah. Yes.
somewhere, sometime. But it definitely is a worthwhile study, to learn about all of what is possible, how much more is understood about the human form and what's in it and what's possible and all of it. It's just, well, to me, it's exciting. I love it.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
And I finally am beginning to understand. Yeah. When someone opens and wants to understand and learn life opens. It
Shows
it
itself.
shows itself
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
And you have lived your whole life this way. And
And
it's a wonder to come into it.
and the secret of that is when it shows up, recognize
Of course,
what you've been
yes.
learning.
Oh, yes.
Don't miss it.
No.
Because that's what helps to connect you up inside. Because oh, I saw this before. I can see it out here.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. There has to be a recognition, that conscious of being conscious.
Yes.
It's so important to be conscious of being conscious.
Yes.
And it really serves us very well.
Yeah, it does. It's like this morning, me saying to you, I was seeing response.
Yeah.
Like I need response from people.
Yeah.
Because I used to live so closed down thinking I had to do everything. Well, I've been responding to my own interior and being more willing to be in the inquiry and the wanting to understand, not just wanting to understand, having to understand,
Needing to.
having a need for it. 'Cause if I don't have the need for it, I may not recognize it when it shows up.
And it may never show up.
Exactly. The need really like turns you on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lets you be awake and aware
Exactly.
of that.
Yeah.
And then if I'm responding in here, well, yes, I'm gonna have the response out here, but sometimes we have to speak for it.
Yeah.
I've been learning.
Yeah.
Speaking the sound for it.
Yes.
Which is in so many ways, each of the things like with Cece, you just were in exactly what you needed to be in, but you didn't know what you needed to be in. You were just very present. And the peace, to me, that's so central to all of this, is that place of peace.
Well, what I want to add to that, JoJo, is that I long ago asked, when I am present with someone else, I want to be what they need, not what I need to say.
Yes.
I want to be present to speak a word that they need to hear, not what I need to say.
Yeah.
And so it's so powerful to me, the words that show up and what it does, the manifestation of it in the other person. And it's immediate because it's for them. It is significantly for them. And there's a recognition. It's like an ignition.
Yes.
It's really ignites something within them that really benefits the one it happens to and the one beholding, because I always benefit from whatever is going on. Anything that happens in my life, I benefit, and I want to understand more deeply when it's fulfilled, because that adds to something that I may need later in a way that I won't have to work for, because I'm understanding it and ready. Should it ever show up.
Understanding is such a gift.
Oh, it's everything.
It is such a gift.
It's everything, because, and I've said it before and I say it a lot. Understanding under my feet gives me a good foundation for understanding life in me and around me and through me and all of it. And it really is necessary. We need it.
Yeah, we do.
And understanding is heartful. It's very full of heart. So, and the inner light is in that. So understanding is such a Oh, yeah, it's just sweet. Sweet and very tangible and real.
There's a wholeness in it. And it's
Mhm.
that feeling of when you have understanding, it's a feeling of, I got it. I got it. You
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah. Yeah, and I can use it.
yeah. And there's a quietness in it. And I've seen that over and over with you, over and over and over in your life and the way that you live. And to be here with you, understanding this way
Mhm.
within my own
Yeah.
being in my life, because it isn't enough to have it just in here. It has to
Mhm.
show up in my life in a way where it's real and it's tangible and it's alive.
Yeah. To you.
Yeah,
And of course, there's always another person included, or maybe many people.
yeah.
It just is a very important way to live because we're not here alone.
No, we're not.
We're all one.
Mhm.
We're here with everyone who's here. And that feels too big, but if we understand I am a dot, it's not too big.
And that dot is so full. It's
Well,
everything.
the dot is a place of the spread. It
Mhm.
spreads. Yeah. And yeah.
So what you said a few minutes ago, a decision that you came to not speak what you needed to say,
Hmm.
but what the other person needs.
Yeah.
And that makes space for that, for the dot to
Spread.
move and
Yeah.
spread and
Totally.
flow
Yeah. Yeah.
and be very alive.
Yes. It's very important to be very alive. For true. But I can tell you my life has never been dull and boring.
No, it hasn't.
Mhm. Nope.
No. And you're steady no matter what it looks like.
Well, what it looks like to others is not the way it looks to me.
I
That would majorly be the truth for me, to say to you, because I see often how other people see things, and I don't. I don't see it that
no, you
way.
don't.
A lot of people complicate things,
Mhm.
and it makes them happy to feel like they're wading through a lot of hard work. For me, I like simplicity. And I like being really clear and simple, just a simple person. And so, is there complexity in what I've learned and what I have understood? And am I, like narrow in view? No, it's not what I'm talking about. There are many studies I've done, many research, everything. So, it's more of just distilling it
Mhm.
distilling all that research so that there is a simple way to say it.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm talking about
Yeah,
more than, staying in the complexity
right.
and
Yes.
being stuck in it, and not able to see clearly because there's too much in the head, living in the head
Yeah.
and not fully embodying and living in their lives in ways that really make them happy, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, living in the head is a hard life.
And
Living
it's
in the heart, living in your life is a simple life.
Well, and it's so important to create that for ourselves. Learn what it is that I would need to be at peace. What is it that I would need to be still in my heartbeat so that I can really listen in? What do I need for that? Some people use prayer, some people use meditation, some people go sit by the ocean or in the mountains, in nature, anywhere. It can, oh, it's so wonderful. We are that nature. We are
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
I mean, you know how happy we are when we hear the birds sing.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
It's the joy of our life.
It sure is.
And it's so just lovely. And that's living. Just easy. Just simple. Simple life. No big deal.
No. And the continuum of the learning and needing to understand. Just because I knew yesterday doesn't mean it's the same today or tomorrow or next week.
The only
It's
reason it
always
isn't.
changing.
Yeah, but the
That's
only
right.
reason it isn't is because when we're given something, we have all this energy for it. The word that comes out of us is a lot of energy.
Yes.
If I took that word, the same words, and tomorrow I tried to apply it in something,
No, it doesn't work.
I would wonder, why doesn't this work? Well, it doesn't have the same vitality. It doesn't have the same meaning.
Yeah.
Because that was for that. Now I need to be in a new way with a new word for this particular situation. It calls for something different. Well, if it calls for something different and I'm not responding,
Right.
I'm not going to get a response.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I'm going to be, what happened? So to be able to understand that, which is really the response you've been speaking of, that you need to understand this, that you have to have vitality in whatever the word is that you're speaking.
Yes.
So that you can have something happen with those words now, right now, right
exactly.
here, right
Yes.
this moment,
Yes.
but not rely on them
No.
for any other occasion.
No.
They may be the same words, but they'll come together so differently. So differently. It will be like, oh, I see. Oh,
But even
I'm
in
here.
yeah, even in the aspect, and I've learned this with you, you'll get an understanding for something. And then over here, you'll get a deeper understanding. Well, I'm learning that too. I may understand something today, but next week I understand it totally differently because of what I've been in to help that to become the reality where the understanding, it's like me starting with responding inside my own being and saying, then growing to, well, I need a response from the other person.
Yeah.
I need a response. I
Well,
need them to come back toward me in some way.
Yeah.
So that I'm not in it by myself.
Yeah. And that would be the soul rhythm used wisely and well, because we're all here together.
Yes.
None of us are alone.
No.
And even if somebody feels alone, we're all one. So there's always someone who could show up or I could go to understand something brand new. If I can't receive it here, there's always someone from whom I can.
Yeah.
And it's so enriching to know that and to understand that there is always help for us.
Yeah, there is.
And always healing for us in whatever way that is, in whatever we're needing. It can be realized, it can be fulfilled.
Yeah.
But if I don't know that, if I don't believe that, if I don't hold that as my truth, then I'm missing.
Yeah.
So I would miss all of it if it happened. It's like I'm here. So who's this being standing here that's not getting fed? I'm fed.
Yeah.
You know, what is the difference here? What is happening? Let me understand, so I have a
Yes.
word that might touch and reach this
Yes.
being beside me.
Yeah.
So that there is a joining.
Mhm.
You know, it's so important. Sometimes just a big smile. I used to stand in the line at the grocery store, and I don't go very often. That's why I'm not doing it so much anymore. But and just love the cashier,
Mhm.
because I knew the hard work of standing there. And sometimes people are kind, and sometimes they're not happy, and they take it out on them.
Yep.
And I've seen that
Yeah.
happen. And just loving them, just being present. I get to the checkout, and it's like they want to give me the world.
Mhm.
So it's their way of telling me something happened. Who are you? I mean, what?
Yeah.
And really, it's caring. It's a caring, deep caring, because I do understand.
Mhm.
And so no matter who we are being with that way, they're going to notice.
Yes.
They notice.
Yes.
They know they're being loved. They
Yes.
know it.
Well, you bring up a really, really, really good point with what you just said. You go loving them, but there's an intention in loving
Oh,
that
yeah.
person. There is a
I want
very
them to be lifted.
cohesive
Yeah.
intention that's why they can then respond to you the way
Mhm.
that they do, because of your intention. And so each of the things, there was intention with your
Yeah.
friend, there was intention with Gina in both
Mhm.
instances, with the hair clip
Yeah.
and the electrical plug.
Mm.
There was intention with what happened when you were on the phone.
Mhm.
There's intention, and intention is so vital. But I'm gonna say it again, with the intention, you have peace in you.
Yeah.
So it it it's full, it's whole, there isn't anything inside of you that is pulling away from the fabric of that. There never
Mhm.
has been.
Mhm.
And I can see it and feel it now, because I've moved from being someone who controlled guilt, all that stuff, to beginning to be in this life. But the intention's vital.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I never used a word, but when we spoke
It's
about the other day about your, kneeling at your feet, yes, I was intentional.
Mhm.
So everything is that, but it's not a word that I use
No,
to say I'm being intentional about this.
no, because it's a way of life.
It's a way of life.
It's built
Yeah.
in. It's
Yeah.
who you are.
Yeah, that's
And
important.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
I agree. And what's more, I concur.
oh yes. Well, it has been a joy once again to be here with you listeners, and with you,
Yes.
Julie Rose.
Yes.
Always,
With you,
always.
JoJo.
Please join us again next Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, right here. Same time, same channel.
Same station.
Same station, that's right. Until then, have a most joyful evening, day, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. And may your week be full
Of grace and blessings.
yes. Yes, yes. Aloha for now.
Thank you for listening to Spacious Unknowing Network, Sunshine for Your Soul, with Julie O.
And JoJo Rose.
Join us again for life-affirming communication every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time on transformationtalkradio.com, so that you can bask in the rays of infinite love.
Access soul rhythm to tap into your real being, for your heartbeat in the rhythm of your soul.
Feel it guide you to new horizons and unlimited, infinite love. For more information about Julio
and JoJo Rose,
visit SpaciousUnknowingNetwork.com. That's SpaciousUnknowingNetwork.com.